I never thought I'd be the guy to get blindsided like this, honestly. My name's Mark, and I've been married to Lisa for about 7 years now. We met in college, had what I thought was a solid, good relationship. Nothing perfect, but pretty damn close. We didn't have kids, no big debts, and I thought we were happy, or at least I did. The first sign something was off started a few months ago, little things mostly. She'd be late coming home from work more often, and when I asked where she was, she'd brush it off with some bullshit about meeting friends or running errands. But her phone was different. She was more secretive with it, hiding the screen when I'd walk into the room, typing fast and then locking it away like she was afraid of being caught. At first, I just thought she was stressed with work, or maybe just being a pain about boundaries. But then she started lying about little stuff, like she'd say she was going out with her sister, then I'd find her texts with a guy named Kevin, a guy from her office, and the messages weren't exactly friendly. They were flirty, full of emojis and talking about drinks and hanging out. I'd confront her, she'd deny everything and then get bitchy, telling me I was paranoid or insecure. She'd say I was overreacting, that I was imagining things, but I knew better. I could feel it deep down. Then came the trip. We planned a remote mountain getaway for our anniversary, just us. No phones, no distractions, supposed to be a way to reconnect and recharge. We got everything packed: clothes, supplies, her survival guide she'd bought online, all the gadgets she insisted were necessary. I figured it was just her usual overpreparedness, but honestly I was excited. It was supposed to be a romantic escape, a chance to leave all the bullshit behind. But from the start she seemed distracted, edgy even. I noticed her sneaking her phone into her backpack, typing away when she thought I wasn't looking. The first night, we camped out under the stars. It was peaceful until I checked her phone, just a passing glance. Nothing suspicious at first, then I saw it. A message from Kevin, sent a few hours earlier, talking about meeting up at a bar in town. It was weird because she had told me she was going to bed early that night. But what really caught my eye was a GPS location attached to the message. The location was nowhere near our campsite. Instead, it pointed to some remote area in the mountains, an area where we were supposed to be completely isolated. That's when I started digging. I knew I had to find out what was really going on. I stayed up late, sneaking her phone out of her bag when she was asleep. That's when I saw the real shocker. A series of texts, not just from Kevin but from some other guy calling himself Hunter, talking about meeting up for sex, detailed plans, even sending pictures. My stomach sank. My wife, my partner, was cheating on me during what I thought was our perfect anniversary trip. And it wasn't just a fling or some drunken mistake. She was actively planning to cheat, and I was sitting right there, completely oblivious. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I couldn't sleep that night, just lying there staring at the stars, feeling betrayed, furious, stupid. I started questioning everything: our marriage, the years I put into it, her promises. The worst part was realizing she had been lying to my face for months, maybe longer. All the signs, her secretive phone, the late nights, the excuses, were right there in front of me, and I'd ignored them out of love or denial, or maybe just trying to keep everything together. I didn't even know if I wanted to confront her that night or just walk away. But I knew one thing for sure: this wasn't going to be a simple argument. It was the beginning of something much heavier. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was racing, replaying everything I saw on her phone the night before. That GPS coordinate, the texts, the photos. How could she do this? How could she betray me like that, right there in the wilderness, where I thought we'd be safe and disconnected? I felt a mess of anger and sadness. Part of me wanted to wake her up and rip her apart right then and there, but I knew better. I needed to think, gather my thoughts, plan my next move. She woke up soon after, looking disoriented and a little annoyed that I'd been up all night. That's when she started the act, playing innocent, acting like she had no idea what I was talking about. "What are you talking about, Mark? It's just a stupid GPS thing. I was testing the emergency beacon. You know, just in case something happened," she said, brushing her hair back and giving me that fake sweet smile. She was good at lying, really good. Too good. I didn't buy it for a second. I decided to confront her head on. I pulled out her phone, showed her the messages, the GPS data. Her reaction was classic sudden panic, then anger. "You're crazy, you're paranoid, Mark. You're reading into things that aren't there. Kevin and Hunter, just friends, I swear, it's nothing, I didn't cheat. You're just trying to ruin everything because you're insecure." She started crying, acting like I was the one that had gone off the rails. But I knew better. She was lying, trying to cover her tracks. I could tell she was used to this, lying, manipulating, twisting the truth, and I was just another mark in her game. I felt my blood boiling. My mind was racing. What the hell was I going to do? Should I just pack up and leave right then? But part of me needed to see how far she'd go, how deep this really went. I decided to keep quiet for now, to watch her, to see if she slipped up again. I pretended to believe her lies, but inside I was already planning my revenge. I'd learned enough. I knew she was cheating, but I also knew I needed proof to take it to the next level. Over the next couple of hours, she acted like nothing was wrong, but her phone kept buzzing. More texts from Kevin and Hunter, more pictures, more lies. I watched her carefully, noting every reaction, every excuse she threw out. It was clear she was used to getting away with things, that she'd been sneaking around behind my back for months. I felt stupid for trusting her, for thinking we had a good marriage. The betrayal cut deep, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I had to decide what to do, how to hit back, how to make her regret ever crossing me. I decided to get some distance. I told her I needed a walk to clear my head, packed up some supplies, and headed into the woods. I wanted to see how far she'd go, how much she'd reveal when she thought I wasn't watching. During that walk, I kept reflecting on everything, the good times, the bad, how I missed the wife I thought I knew. But now, I was certain she'd been lying all along. I didn't know what her game was, but I knew I had to catch her red-handed if I wanted any real proof. So I kept my phone, my camera, and a small tape recorder in my pocket. I figured I'd need all of it. I wasn't just going to confront her blindly. I was going to gather enough evidence to destroy her lies once and for all. Maybe I'd show her I wasn't some naive fool, that I was capable of knowing her dirty secrets. And if I did, I'd get my revenge. I didn't know exactly what that would look like yet, but I was determined to find out. For now, I kept walking deeper into the woods, my mind swirling with anger, betrayal, and a strange flicker of resolve. This was only the beginning of what was going to be a long, painful fight. I spent the rest of that day watching her from a distance, hiding behind trees, listening in on her phone conversations, and trying to piece together just how far she'd go. She kept calling Kevin and Hunter, giggling and telling them she was alone in the mountains, but I knew better. I could see her glancing around nervously, acting like she was hiding something. Every so often, she'd check her phone, then hide it again in her pack. She was trying to keep up appearances, but I could see she was rattled. I decided to set up my little surveillance. I hid behind some bushes near our campsite where I could keep an eye on her without her noticing. I turned on my voice recorder and pulled out my phone to record her calls, just in case I needed proof later. I was determined to catch her in the act, to get her to slip up. If she thought I was just some paranoid husband, I'd give her a reason to regret it. As the day wore on, she started acting even more suspicious. I saw her sneaking into the woods, making secret calls and secretly messaging. At one point, she took her phone out and started deleting some messages, which told me she knew exactly what she was doing was wrong. That made my stomach turn. She was trying to cover her tracks, trying to hide her affair from me while pretending everything was fine. Late in the afternoon, I saw her pack her things and start walking towards a different part of the woods. She was heading to some spot she'd clearly scoped out beforehand. I followed at a safe distance, heart pounding. When I got close enough, I saw her meet with a guy, probably Kevin or Hunter, I didn't care, just a shadowy figure in the fading light. They exchanged quick words, then she handed him something, probably her phone or a piece of paper, and then she left. That moment hit me like a punch in the gut. She was actively meeting with someone behind my back in the middle of nowhere while I was sitting right there, pretending to be blissfully unaware. I snapped some photos of the meeting, knowing I'd have all the evidence I needed to confront her properly. I was seething, feeling every ounce of betrayal that I thought I'd already processed. It was real now. No more speculation, no more doubts. I stayed hidden until she disappeared out of sight, then I made my way back to camp. I was shaking, not with fear, more like a mix of rage and heartbreak. I knew I couldn't just confront her that night, not with all this evidence in hand. I needed to cool off, think about what I was going to say and how I was going to do it. But part of me just wanted to call her out right then and there, to yell at her for what she'd done, to tell her I knew everything. When I got back to the campsite, I stayed awake most of the night, going over everything in my head. I looked at the photos I'd taken, listened to the recordings, and realized that she'd lied to my face about everything. She'd been sneaking around, planning to cheat for months, maybe even longer. And the worst part was I'd been blind to it. I thought we had a good, honest life, but she'd been cheating on me during the trip, right under my nose. I felt a strange mix of grief and anger. I wasn't sure what I was more pissed about, her lying, her betrayal, or the fact that I'd trusted her so much and she just shredded that trust into pieces. I kept telling myself I was going to confront her the next day, but deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. I had enough evidence now to destroy her, to make her regret ever messing with me, and I wasn't planning on doing it quietly. I wanted her to know I wasn't the fool she thought I was. Now all I could do was wait for morning, plan my next move, and brace myself for the fallout. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about my dignity, my marriage, everything I believed in. And I knew without a doubt that I was going to make her pay for what she'd done. The morning hit hard, air thick with the unspoken tension of what was coming. I woke up before dawn, the cool mountain breeze doing nothing to ease the storm inside me. I replayed everything I'd seen and heard the day before. I had the evidence now, photos of her meeting with her lover, recordings of her secret calls, the GPS data that proved she was lying. About her whereabouts, I knew I couldn't keep quiet any longer. It was time to face her, to finally get her to admit what she'd been doing. She was still asleep, her face peaceful but her eyes wild with something I couldn't quite place. I hesitated for a moment, then gently woke her up. Her eyes fluttered open, trying to look innocent, like she had no idea what I was about to say. "Lisa," I said, my voice low but firm, "we need to talk, and I mean really talk, no more lies." Her face froze a little, then she sat up, trying to put on that bitchy, annoyed attitude she thought could get her out of trouble. "I don't know what you're talking about, Mark," she snapped, brushing her hair back. "You're overthinking everything as usual. I was just making some calls, trying to figure out plans for us. You're always so paranoid. You're ruining our trip." I looked her straight in the eyes and pulled out my phone, showing her the photos and recordings I'd gathered. Her face instantly paled, then twisted into anger. "That's bullshit," she spat. "You're making this up, you're just jealous or something, you're trying to control me again." I felt my fists tight. "No, Lisa, I'm done with your lies. I saw the GPS data, the texts, the meeting in the woods. Don't bother playing innocent. I know you've been cheating on me and I have the proof." Her eyes flicked around, searching for a way out. She tried to deny it, but her voice cracked. "You don't understand, Mark. It's complicated. It's just sex. I was bored and Kevin and Hunter are just friends. It doesn't mean anything." The words sounded hollow and pathetic, like she was trying to convince herself more than me. That's when I snapped. I'd had enough of her bullshit, her lies, her manipulations. I told her I didn't want to hear her excuses anymore. I told her I knew she'd been planning to cheat during our supposed anniversary trip, and that she'd been lying to my face for months. Her bitchy attitude faded into tears, but even then there was still that smugness in her eyes, like she thought she could still wiggle out of it, make me feel guilty, make me feel like I was overreacting. I knew I had to decide what was next. I looked at her, the woman I'd loved and trusted, and I realized that she'd shattered everything we'd built. My mind was racing with all the ways I could punish her, calling her out, confronting her family, even just walking away and never looking back. But deep down, I knew that I wanted more than just her to feel the pain. I wanted her to understand that she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from, that her betrayal had consequences. So I told her, straightforward and cold, that I was done. Done with her lies, her cheating, her bitchy attitude, and her manipulations. I told her I'd been gathering evidence, and that I wasn't going to let her walk away like nothing had happened. I said I was going to tell everyone, including her friends, her family, and anyone who mattered, exactly what she'd done. I wanted her to feel what it was like to be completely exposed, to lose everything she thought she had. Her reaction was classic. She yelled, called me names, told me I was crazy, that I'd ruined everything for nothing. But I didn't care anymore. All that mattered was that I'd finally taken control of the situation. I was done being the naive husband, the guy who ignored the signs in favor of saving his marriage. The truth was, I'd lost her long ago, and now I was just cleaning up the mess she'd left behind. I packed up my things, feeling a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. The mountain silence around us was deafening, but inside I felt a little lighter. I'd confronted her, laid out the evidence, and made it clear I wasn't going to be played anymore. I walked away from that campsite knowing I'd have to face the fallout, whether it was divorce papers, her crying, or her trying to manipulate her way out of it. But I'd done what I needed to do. I'd finally pulled back the curtain and seen her for what she really was, a liar, a cheater, and an unfaithful bitch who thought she could get away with everything. That morning changed everything for me, and honestly, I don't regret it. I guess I always knew something like this might happen, but I never thought it would hit me so hard or come so suddenly. Now I just have to figure out what's next. But one thing's for sure, I won't tolerate being played. Not anymore. After I left the campsite that morning, I felt like I was walking through a fog. Part of me wanted to break down, scream, punch something, anything to release the anger and hurt. But I also knew I had to keep it together, at least for the drive back. I had enough evidence now to blow up her world, and I wasn't about to just walk away quietly. I was furious, and I knew I'd be making some serious decisions soon. Trip back home was a blur. I didn't say much to her, just kept my eyes on the road, my mind racing through all the steps I needed to take. I knew I couldn't keep her in the house, not after what I uncovered. I started making calls as soon as I got home, lawyers, friends, even a divorce mediator. I needed advice on how to handle this, how to protect myself emotionally and legally. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry, but underneath it all, I also felt a strange sense of relief. I finally knew the truth, and I refused to let her manipulate me anymore. When I got back, Lisa was already trying to act like everything was normal. She was making coffee, pretending she didn't know I was onto her, but I didn't buy it. I sat her down, calmly but firmly, and laid everything out, my evidence, my feelings, what I planned to do. She looked panicked at first, then angry, then downright bitchy. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're overreacting. You're just trying to control me. You have no proof I'm cheating, and you're trying to ruin everything because you're insecure." That's when I finally lost it. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos, the recordings, the GPS logs. I told her I'd been watching her, that I knew everything. Her face went ghostly pale, then flushed with rage. She started screaming at me, calling me every name in the book, trying to deny everything. "You're just jealous, Mark. I don't know what your problem is. Sex with Kevin and Hunter. It's just sex, that's all. It doesn't mean anything. You're overreacting." Her words were trying to spin everything like she was still in control, but I saw through it. I knew the truth. I told her flat out that I was done with her lies, her cheating, her manipulations. I said I was going to tell everyone, the people she cared about, her friends, her family, what she'd done, that I was filing for divorce. Her bitchy attitude turned into a full-blown meltdown. She cried, she yelled, she begged, but I didn't care. I had made up my mind. I wasn't going to stay and be her punching bag anymore. She had crossed the line, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Over the next few days, I started the process of moving on. I contacted a lawyer, began sorting out the divorce papers, and made sure all the evidence I had was safe. I didn't want her to have any chance to spin her lies or manipulate her way back into my life. I knew she would try, because that's who she was, bitchy, manipulative, and always playing games. But I also knew I had the upper hand now. As for her, she kept trying to contact me, calling, messaging, even showing up at my place. But I refused to engage. I knew she was desperate to save her ass, but I wasn't interested. I realized that being betrayed like this, especially during a supposed romantic getaway, had changed me forever. I wasn't the same guy anymore. I had lost the trust, yes, but I also gained clarity. I saw her for what she truly was, a cheating, bitchy woman who had no regard for me or our marriage. Looking back now, I see that this whole experience has taught me something crucial. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to fix. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought, strong enough to stand up, admit I was hurt, and finally take control of my life. I won't let her define me anymore. This betrayal, as painful as it was, has pushed me to move forward. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll never let someone manipulate and cheat me again. And I hope, if anyone else finds themselves in a similar hole, they have the strength to cut it out and walk away. Because sometimes, the only way to find yourself again is to let go of what's destroying you. Now, sitting here months after everything happened, I honestly feel a mixture of relief and something I did. Expect clarity. The pain of betrayal still lingers, but it's not as sharp as it was at the start. I learned a lot about trust, about myself, and about recognizing red flags sooner rather than later. Honestly, I wish I could say I'm glad it happened, but I guess you can't really appreciate the lessons until you've gone through the worst of it. One thing I've realized is that I was blind for a long time. I wanted to believe in the good in her and us, but the truth was staring me in the face all along. The secret calls, the lying, the GPS data. If I had just paid closer attention, I might have saved myself a lot of heartbreak. Instead, I was caught up in the comfort of what I thought was our life. That's a hard lesson to learn, but I'm glad I learned it. I've also come to accept that sometimes love isn't enough. No matter how much effort you put in, some people just aren't who you thought they were. Lisa, she's not the person I married. She's someone else, someone who lied, cheated, used me. It hurts to say that, but I've come to terms with. And honestly, it's a relief. Now I can focus on rebuilding my life, my confidence, and my sense of trust in myself. The biggest thing I want to tell anyone reading this is, don't ignore the signs. Don't brush off your gut feeling. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And if you find concrete evidence that someone you care about is betraying you, don't be afraid to face it head on. It's going to hurt, but it's better than living a lie. Protect yourself, because no one else will do it for you. I've learned that revenge isn't about hurting her back, at least not anymore. It's about reclaiming your dignity, standing up for yourself, and refusing to be a victim of someone else's lies. I don't wish her ill, I just want to move on and be better. That's what I owe myself now. Looking forward, I plan to focus on myself, my career, my hobbies, maybe even traveling alone for a while. I want to start fresh, without the weight of betrayal hanging over me. And if I've learned anything, it's that I'll never let anyone take that away from me again. Trust is fragile, yes, but I now understand how to protect my heart better. I learned the hard way, but I hope someone else reading this can take away a little warning. Pay attention to the signs, be honest with yourself, and never settle for less than genuine. Because in the end, you're the only one who can truly look out for your own happiness.